What's like one of your fears? Like what's a fear you have of AI? Like if you have like a fearful space that it could go, like I know you mentioned it a little bit.
This morning, I was testing our new model and I got emailed a question that I didn't quite understand. And I put it in the model, this GPT-5, and it answered it perfectly. And I really kind of sat back in my chair and I was just like, oh man, here it is moment. And I got over it quickly. I got busy onto the next thing. But it was like, it's what kind of we were talking about. I felt like useless relative to the AI and this thing that I felt like I should have been able to do and I couldn't, and it was really hard, but the AI just did it like that.
Yeah.
It was a weird feeling.
Yeah, I think that feeling right there, that's the feeling a lot of people kind of have, like when does it happen? What's going to happen? But I think some of it is, it's like, it's hard to conceptualize until you're further along.
Totally. I don't think we know quite how that's going to feel. You just have to like approach it step by step. Another thing I'm afraid of, and we had a real problem with this earlier, but it can get much worse, is just what this is going to mean for users' mental health. There's a lot of people that talk to ChatGPT all day long. There are these sort of new AI companions that people talk to like they would a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And we were talking earlier about how it's probably not been good for kids to like grow up like on the dopamine hit of scrolling, TikTok or Reels or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think that how do you keep like AI from having that same effect, like that negative effect that social media really has had?
I'm scared of that. I don't have an answer yet. I don't think we know quite the ways in which it's going to have those negative impacts. But I feel for sure it's going to have some, and I hope we can learn to mitigate it quickly.
Can they pull up pornography and stuff like that too, or no?
Sure.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. No, it's fine. But I don't even need to know that. I'm going to have that stricken from my own record. What legal system does AI have to work by? Is there like a legal, we have laws like in the world, right? Like in the human world, does AI have to work by any like legal laws,
Yeah, so I think we will certainly need a legal or a policy framework for AI. One example that we've been thinking about a lot, and this is like maybe not quite what you're asking, this is like a very human-centric version of that question. People talk about the most personal shit in their lives to ChatGPT. It's, people use it, young people especially, like use it as a therapist, a life coach, having these relationship problems, what should I do? And right now, if you talk to a therapist or a lawyer or a doctor about those problems, there's like legal privilege for it. There's doctor-patient confidentiality, there's legal confidentiality, whatever. And we haven't figured that out yet for when you talk to ChatGPT. So if you go talk to ChatGPT about your most sensitive stuff and then there's like a lawsuit or whatever, like we could be required to produce that. And I think that's very screwed up. I think we should have like the same concept of privacy for your conversations with AI that we do with a therapist or whatever. And no one had to think about that even a year ago. And now I think it's this huge issue of like, how are we going to treat the laws around this?
Well, do you think there should be like kind of like a slowing things down before we move there kind of? Because, yeah, that is kind of wild. It's one of the reasons I get scared sometimes to use certain AI stuff because I don't know how much personal information I want to put in because I don't know who's going to have it.
I think we need this point addressed with some urgency. And, the policymakers I've talked to about it like broadly agree. It's new and now we got to do it quickly. Do you talk to ChatGPT?
I don't talk to it that much.
Because of this?
I think it is. It's because it's like...
I think it makes sense.
To not talk to ChatGPT because...
No. To like really want the privacy clarity before you use it a lot.
Yeah.
Like the legal clarity.
Yeah, it's scary. And it's like, well, how long does it take lawmakers to come up with that? And then it feels like it's moving so fast that it's like it doesn't even matter. That sometimes it's like it doesn't even really matter. It's like, are we even waiting for the laws to be put around this or what's going on? Does it feel like it's moving too fast for you sometimes?
The last few months have felt very fast. It feels faster and faster, but the last few months have felt very fast.
Yeah, I was watching this guy, Yoshua Bengio.
Yoshua Bengio.
And he's kind of like, some people call him the father of AI. He may be self-proclaimed. I'm not really sure. But he certainly seemed to be kind of like a lifeguard for AI, like thinking about like, well, how do we keep the pool safe? How much water should be in it? The chlorine, how many lifeguards do you need on duty? That type of thing, hypothetically. And he said, and he was saying that some AIs, they have like deception techniques inside of them, like that. There were AIs that would rather give you an answer that was possibly pleasing to the user than to give them the factual answer. And then he was also saying that there were AIs that were developing some of their own languages to communicate with each other, which would be languages that we don't even know. What is that? How do you guys curtail that when those types of things come up? What does that even kind of feel like to you guys? Or are these just problems that happen in new spaces and you figure it out as you go?
There are these moments in the history of science where you have a group of scientists look at their creation and just say, what have we done? Maybe it's great, maybe it's bad, but what have we done? Like maybe the most iconic example is thinking about the scientists working on the Manhattan Project in 1945, sitting there watching the Trinity test and just, this thing that had, it was a completely new, not human scale kind of power, and everyone knew it was going to reshape the world. And I do think people working on AI have that feeling in a very deep way. We just don't know. Like, we think it's going to be great. There's clearly real risks. It kind of feels like you should be able to say something more than that. But in truth, I think all we know right now is that we have discovered, invented, whatever you want to call it, something extraordinary that is going to reshape the course of human history.
Dear God, man. But if you don't know, we don't know.
Well, of course. I mean, I think no one can predict the future. Like, human society is very complex. This is an amazing new technology. Maybe a less dramatic example than the atomic bomb is when they discovered the transistor a few years later.
The transistor radio?
The
transistor
little
atom?
transistor part that, made computers and radios and everything else. But we discovered this completely new thing that enabled the whole computer revolution and is in this microphone and those computers and our iPhones. And like, the world would be so different if people had not discovered that and then over the decades figured out how to make them smaller and more efficient. And now we don't even think about it because the transistors are just in everything. We have all this modern technology from that one scientific discovery. And I do think that's what AI is going to be like. We had this one crazy scientific discovery that led to these language models we all use now. And that is going to change the course of society in all kinds of ways. And of course, we don't know what they all are.
Damn. I was hoping you knew by the end of that sentence. Or I was hoping you would, like that's what because we don't know. Like that's, I think, the tough thing.
There's no time in human history at the beginning of a century where the people ever knew what the end of the century was going to be like.
Yeah.
So maybe I do think it goes faster and faster each century. It's certainly like, in 1900, you couldn't have predicted what 2000 was going to be like. I think in 2000, you could even less predict what 2100 was going to look like. But that's kind of why it's exciting. And that's kind of why people get to figure out and unfold the story as we go.
It's kind of bizarre because there's a part of me that's like, this guy's out of his mind. This guy is a wild wizard. There's a couple different things. But then there's also this part of me that's like, this guy is this hopeful guy who's like involved in this crazy space. And he kind of has this whimsical energy about the future, which is in a crazy way a nice energy to have about the future generally, is that something could happen or that things are possible. So it just, it's all kind of like, I don't know, it's fascinating. It's definitely fascinating to me.